Everybody say it mean.
Who's that out there living the dream? Let's blow in the bean. Who's that still smoking all that green? Let's blow in the bean. Come on, y'all, let me hear you scream. Let's blow in the bean. Let's blow in the bean. Let's blow in the bean. Go.
Let's blow in the bean. Welcome back. Getting right down into it. We have a post show for you guys and just what's going on in the MMA verse. Definitely was a fun weekend of fights. I think that if you listen to our breakdown, there was a lot of dogs that came through, and Lesbo definitely had some of the best picks of the night.
Oh, I needed a good week. I have been beat up this year by UFC.
It's been, it was an upset-heavy card. It was a really fun card. There was finishes, submissions, decisions, controversial decisions. Danielle Taylor has had 3 split decisions in a row. Just throwing that out there. 3 in a row. I don't know if she deserved that win. That's the one that I immediately have to jump to. I know you picked her, and she did have a heavy right, like we predicted. She was really fast. Okay, takedown. Well, she got taken down 3 times, and that's why I'd say I thought Penny won the fight. I thought the dominant position went to Penny. But I do feel like Taylor did control the octagon when they were standing a bit more at the center of the ring.
Depending on the state, I think it was, you know how sometimes when it's a really educated crowd, the takedowns mean a lot to the judges. And it's a really educated crowd, and not to take away from the crowd, but there was just some shit sketchy from the crowd to me as far as booing goes that I think...
Agreed. I like the crowd, but there was times that they were just
weren't
being
an educated crowd.
Rowdy
and
crowd.
so I feel like, you're pulling your judges a lot of the times out of the city in which you're in. So I feel, in my opinion, she probably didn't get as much credit as we should. Like in Vegas, you think, gosh, you got to land like 6 significant strikes for 1 takedown.
Yeah, at least.
At
least it's something. You got to do something a little bit more. It's not a takedown per strike kind of a ratio. I'd say there is more in it. It was interesting. I mean, it was a top 4 opponent for Taylor. Taylor's got to take a huge step up. She was not ranked. Now she's ranked all of a sudden because she beat the number 4 woman in the world in a split decision. But still, it's just like this. She's got to be.
But I don't think it was any kooky rounds that were like blown out for Taylor. I just think that.
Well, that's where I'd say Penning. I thought 1 and 2 easily were hers, and 3rd I could have given to Taylor. That's how I feel. But it was a split. I didn't see it as a split fight. I thought Penny won that fight flat out. What are you going to do? It happens in our sport. It was a competitive fight. It was competitive. I'm not going to say that they didn't go out there and throw it all on the line. I think people get hit by Taylor and go, oh shit.
There's been worse calls this year.
I agree. I'd agree with that. It was the fight that ended up happening.
And how different, just in general, does every fight look if you watch it without the commentators quoting? You're like, that shot didn't even land. Oh, neither did that shot. Even, like, they're like, whoa, and he took a hard kick, and you're like, that totally grazed his head. It didn't hit him at all. Or, whatever. Yeah. Whatever the case may be. But, anywho.
The first fight of the night did end up finishing by a first-round TKO. It was it was hammer fists. He knocked him down with some of that alpha male striking, and then when Sinchel dove to roll through, Sandoval sat heavy on his hips like any wrestler would do and started throwing light hammer fists, heavy hammer fists, and Sinchel, he did go out. I think he contested it a bit, saying he was okay, but I think he got knocked back into consciousness with like the second or third punch.
Hector's one to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
I really like him. I think he's exciting.
Scrappy guy.
It was a good card. It might have been really my favorite card of the year, and I didn't even get to watch the whole thing.
Oh man, you should definitely go back and find it. The first couple fights. I mean, Proctor versus Barberina. Proctor came in there. He didn't move up a weight class. Proctor wasn't scared. He came at Barberina, and Barberina.
I changed this pick to Barberina.
Good call. I picked the decision via Barberina, and he got a first round TKO, and it was a battle. I mean, neither guy was backing down, but
I had Barberina decision as well, I think.
Barberina did, I feel like the weight
by the end.
Played a role for Barberina. I think the size in general. Joe Proctor used to be a very heavy 155er or big guy at 155.
He looked little at weigh-ins.
He's mediocre at 170 pounds. Or he's not the biggest guy by any means whatsoever. You're cutting with guys that are over 200 pounds that fight at 170, a la Tyrone Woodley and people like that. So, fun fight. I can really see Proctor getting another fight, and I think he can do well at the division. I think Barberina is an up-and-comer still, even though he has had a recent setback. But Barberina looked good. He looked like he's ready to go again soon. Hopefully,
he looked good in that fight. Good for Barberina.
Right. Next fight was Alexis Davis versus Cindy Danios. Danios was the Miesha Tate prodigy that was the judo queen, and I feel like I got this one right. She was outmatched by Davis. Davis is a better all-around mixed martial artist, where Danios could do things to women on the regional circuit that just don't have, or on the Invicta circuit that she can't do in the UFC. Every fight is a championship match at any other organization. You're in with the big dogs. And hopefully she learns a lot, but with her age and the way she was moving, Danios' head stayed on a solid line. Davis was landing every punch. She wasn't even looking at the punches and landing them because she knew her head was going to be there. Once she got to the ground, she didn't really look as flashy as she did on the Invicta scene, because guess what? There's the top of the dogs, and everybody's got a good ground game. And Davis looked good in her win, but it doesn't really do much for her. It was just kind of letting everyone else know that you might not want to do that. It looked like Danios finding out that she was a part-time teacher during this camp and she's still trying to be. It's like, you can't do that anymore. This has been proven at this level that if you're not a full-time fighter, you ain't gonna make it to the championship level. So something's got to give. And at her age, I don't know how much longer she has with a long competitive history.
Agree.
Moving on to the split decision we already talked about with Taylor versus Penny.
I thought it was a fun fight. Yeah, they were both. I think they both fight again. Obviously the winner, but I think Penny. Man, Penny. Where does she go next though? Maybe they give Penny Watterson
3 in a row. But then that's a tough fight.
It totally is a tough fight.
No, because Watterson's under WME contract, so no way Watterson gets cut from the UFC.
But Watterson all of a sudden is another PVZ, where it's another pretty face. But
didn't PVC just lose some other contest? She just was in some other game show and lost first round. I don't know what it was.
Let me tell you, this is just some weird news, but totally on topic to MMA. You know how I geek out on the Real World Road Rules?
I was gonna bring that up to you. I heard about that as well.
And I predicted that on air. I said, I think something's going on, because I've started to notice the MMA shirts on. I started Cody Garbrandt on the guy who hosts the show. Yeah. I'm like, I bet you whoever the management team is somehow owns that and their crossover. Yeah. They're starting to cross over. So I'm wondering what other sports stars are going to be on it. But
who is it? Odell Beckham Jr. or something is the announcer I heard for it. It's not the regular old challenge guy either.
I bet the professional athletes don't win.
Ooh. So what's the theory of the show for this season? Because I don't know enough about the show.
The way the show works is it's like, let's say 20 competitors go into a house, and
usually real world based characters.
From the Real World or Road Rules, or or old challenges, old Real World. But they come on the show and they compete in like a daily competition, and the loser, and the rules change everything a little bit, but the loser of the competition, man and woman, goes into the jungle or the challenge or the grind or the whatever weird name they give it, the gauntlet, and then the house votes on another man and woman to go in against them. So it's political and physical. Then they all work it down. The loser goes home of that main match. So it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And then the end is like, let's say 3 women and 3 men competing. And like this one that's happening right now is a 3-day challenge.
Wow.
Where it's like 24 miles each day, like no joke stuff. It's not just and not to take anything away from professional athletes, but the people who have done this for their living for the last 10 years,
Yep.
it's different than just even CrossFit thinking, because you have to have super endurance. It's the mindset of it is the skinny blonde usually wins this shit because they can run the longest.
Oh,
it's
most
all
endurance.
on, because the guys have to go against fucking huge beefy guys, so you can't just be a lean runner guy and win and get to so
You'll get out
it's
muscle.
a bunch of beefy guys, and once it gets to 2 and 3 day challenges, the guys can't keep enough calories or water in their body because they're all huge muscular guys.
Yeah.
So they are fucking hurting, and they need a woman that's like, come on, just take another step. Just come on, you can do it. I'll carry, drag the weights. But a lot of the times the guys are like, just give me your weights. I'll carry them for the first day. And then their body is just, and then the women can just keep running and running and running like they're from Kenya.
I definitely,
Anyways, I
I'm
think
a
it'll
little
be
bit
good.
more interested
But
in the show myself.
UFC
I'm gonna try to
person
look
on
at
it is friggin' CM Punk.
Yes. So that was the only thing that's like,
Meow.
there could be so many other guys.
I think Uriah Faber. Like, if I think who would do good on a show like that, it would be a guy like a Uriah Faber.
That's retired.
Yeah,
that doesn't have to. That's a good point.
I just think he seems like he has endurance, or like a Dominic Cruz, because there's strength stuff involved, but I mean, sometimes it's one on against each other, but most of the time there's boards of things, like you have to climb a rope the fastest, and
I think Faber would be a good call for that for sure.
Yeah, he's like little and strong.
Yeah, and endurance city, like that's what they learned.
Yeah, or like Demetrius Johnson.
The only tough thing with an active fighter is fitting it in a schedule and still training. So that's why I think of someone recently gone out of the sport that still they're in shapeness. They haven't gained 40 pounds.
Or maybe PDZ could do really well.
She, like I said, I feel like she just lost on some other TV show and she's not looking. She says she's training. People say she's training, but no one's really seen too much. She doesn't have a fight lined up. She's just coming in and losing tons of shows. I don't know what I haven't been a big fan of her, but I don't think she's a bad person.
Watterson, that's the fight.
I think that's a fun fight. And then it's losing.
And if Penne loses, she leaves, and if Watterson has one more. Look at you can't even say that about women. Holly Holmes has another main card.
True. She's 4 in a row. She's lost, but it's all against top competition.
But to me, I feel like the UFC is feeding her Betch to kick her head off.
I agree.
I feel like
it's a perfect
everyone
fight for
deep
her.
down wants it. And Betch comes forward with pressure, just like somebody else we know.
Yep.
I think it's a T-ball for her.
It's a perfect stylistic matchup for Holly Holm in that fight.
We talked.
Back to the post-fight. We had Scott Holtzman defeat McBride via a decision, and that was a battle. It was... McBride's a tough guy. McBride took some shots, but he looked like he wasn't long for the UFC too much longer. Holtzman looked okay, and the fact that he couldn't finish McBride, I feel like kind of made me really be like, okay, Holtzman is... And he was in a battle. I mean, it's not that he didn't look good, but there was, I felt like, a lot of avenues for Holtzman to finish, and he never jumped on it. And there's being patient, and then there's just pulling the trigger.
I agree.
At times. So...
he might, if he's with somebody who has really super heavy hands, he's going to be in a danger zone.
Yep.
He's going to put himself... this was the right fight for him this time, but it'll be interesting.
I'm not going to be as confident as I once was prior to this fight. I had more steam on Holtzman for that
Murderers
decision.
Row division.
Yeah, exactly.
It might be the hardest division in the UFC.
I agree. It's a very, very, very deep division. Moving on to the next fight, we had Brandon Moreno defeating Dustin Ortiz via submission via round 2. This was a wonderful call by you. I was definitely on the Ortiz bandwagon and let down again, but Moreno is the type of fighter to be able to do this kind of stuff. He has so many interesting matchups, Moreno does. So many. I mean, how good did he look? Oh, I have always been a fan, but I always was a bigger fan of Ortiz. So that I was kind of letting the history of being like, he's going to be my George Masvidal. No, he's not. No, Dustin Ortiz is in his hometown. I thought that was going to sway him, but Moreno is so creative in his striking attack and so different with his good takedown defense that he's been a 10th Planet guy. He's been going to wrestling where I thought the wrestling was really going to get taken over by Ortiz. Moreno came with it. He first stunned him with a kick, was it not? Kick to the face, dropped Ortiz, then he jumped on him incredibly
You know how you
fast.
say John Winklejohn, like where you tend to go with the fighter who's from.
Yeah, I agree.
That's your a bias. That's how I am with 10th Planet.
Yeah, If they're 10th Planet disciples, you're like, ooh, they're thinking outside the box.
Yeah, something else is going on here. Something else is going on. They're thinking outside the globe.
It was definitely a wonderful finish. Not too many people have been able to do that to Dustin Ortiz. And Moreno being as young as he is, 24, 25 years old, like, this guy's the limit for this young man.
I think he's cute. I think, to me, if I'm a marketer for the UFC, I look at this kid and see dollar signs.
I agree with that, and I think that there's nothing but interesting matchups for him because of the style he presents. He's bringing in the Yair same style of, like, you're going to be in an interesting fight because this guy goes hard as striking as he does on the ground. When Moreno gets on the ground, he's moving. He's not sitting in positions. He is trying to finish you, and that's all we want to see from our submission guys. It's not that people do not like the submissions. They just want to see you, but it's exhausting to go for submissions and not get them as well. New breed, evolution of the sport.
Yeah,
I love it.
I
love it. I'm really excited for that division and young prospects like that. We're moving on to the 185 division. Talis latest defeating Sam Alvey versus a 3-round decision. I mean,
I did not see this happening.
Neither did I. I had Alvey TKO round 1, and I feel like latest was faster. More precise with his striking, and on the ground definitely always had the advantage. And Alvey's done this to us before, where he's...
You know what?
No, it was the first kick of the first round. He kicked him on the inside of the leg. Alvey twisted his ankle at the corner. He told his wife, oh, we all thought it was a knee injury. I thought it was a knee injury.
It took away his power.
It took away that. It was the first kick of the fight, and he said, oh, my ankle. And his wife was like, I saw, you're going to have to get through this. So he immediately was on a hurt leg, and that took away all his power. It's a good call.
Took away his power, but it showed me that Sam Alvey's a tough guy.
Yep.
Like,
Always.
I still like him, and I'll probably pull for Sam and his next fight, and I'll probably be an underdog again.
I agree.
I'm going to tell you right now.
I agree with that.
I'm a fan of smiling Sam Alvey. I'm a fan of his marriage. I'm a fan of their relationship inside the octagon, in the corner. I think she has his best interest at heart always.
I agree. I loved her corner, and she was saying all of the right stuff. She was telling him in the 3rd round, honey, you might have lost those 2 rounds. You have to finish him now. You got to go for it. That's exactly what you want a corner to say to somebody that's in Alvey's position going into the 3rd round. That's a wife doing that. Who else has that?
If I'm a marketing person,
I agree.
And I look at this storyline,
Yep.
and I sell the shit out of it.
Yep.
Why isn't the UFC talking about this storyline?
So I feel like, from what I remember from back in the day, Sam Alvey and his wife have talked about it, that on the show, like, they let her do her modeling, but she wanted to have kids. So she said she would get out of modeling just to raise their kids and focus on his career. And that's why she hasn't done anything. She's still raising the kids and training him, and they're focusing on his career while she stays in the back, which I'm just like, that's an amazing family unit that they're making it work. And even in this loss, it's a decision. Sam Alvey didn't look the worst, but I feel like there's a blueprint set up to beat Sam Alvey.
Yeah.
There's a blueprint, so he's got to do something else or just figure out.
I think Sam Alvey's long enough. He needs to go to 10th Planet.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And they'll listen. They'll listen out there. And they're creative, and they believe in signs, and they believe in all this. So, Sam Alvey, if you're out there listening, I think you need to call Eddie Bravo and 10th Planet. And I think that if you can close these loopholes, and you already have this strength, and you have unexpected strength that I don't think people anticipate when they get into the octagon with you. So, I think do this. Sam Alvey.
Can I make my plea for...
Go West Coast for a bit?
Well, I want to make my plea to Sam Alvey, and I'm going to say, Dear Mrs. Sam Alvey, can you please send Sam to 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, because we know that you run the family unit, and he does what you say, and that's where he went to
the
Team
Smilins?
Well,
Mr. and Mrs. Smilin?
Yeah. She found Team Quest and sent him there. She said, this is the best camp. And at the time it was. And she knew that it was going to be a tough challenge. But the fact that she put her loved one in that situation for him to excel means she's all in with him. She understands the game. She came in with a black eye too. Love that. Absolutely love that. Did you see that at weigh-ins?
Well, he tried to tell her once. Yeah. Just kidding. I don't ever think that of Sam. I don't believe that at all. She probably got kicked with a baby shoe.
That's what I'm thinking.
Babies have hard-ass
shoes.
shoes.
Little baby knee.
Babies have those wooden bottom shoes. You know those little baby shoes? Those little
Yeah.
hard plastic.
Clicky babies that are running in a horror
They're like
movie.
walking, like little baby shoe. She's probably on the
And
floor
knowing
playing with
those
the kid.
redheads,
Boom, baby
knowing
shoe.
those that redheaded family, probably anemic, so they got them little hard little doctor shoes.
I just feel like what Sam does, he's perfected what Sam does. Like, I think Team Quest has taken him a long way. I think he's locked in what Sam does. This part is friggin' a 10. But now it's time to work on another aspect of Sam. And I don't want to see him done yet. I feel like he's got fights in him. I like the whole thing. I feel like he hurt himself and just stayed in. To me, that's a fighter. I know so many guys. I could list through names. There's guys on this card that if they were in the same situation, hurt in the first round, they're going to roll over and give someone their back.
Yep.
So I feel like Sam didn't do that.
I agree. He did not. He did not at all. He definitely, first kick, he injured himself in some way that he hasn't let people let on, but he gutted it out. He gutted it out.
All right. Well,
So,
we'll get off.
moving on to the next fight.
Congratulations to Latisse.
True. Latest, I guess.
We just won't. We're like, no, we both picked him knockout round 1, and then we're going to talk about him for this amount of time.
Either way. And the winner, I feel like he's got they both have many fights in the UFC left. It's good for Latest. I think he was on his way out if he didn't win this fight, so he's got interesting matchups ahead of him. Mike Perry versus Jake Ellenberger finished in a second round TKO. I got this 100% perfect on my tap.
I think.
It was the first round, they felt each other out. I feel like Ellenberger was getting the better of the striking, and I felt like that was going to happen. But in the second round, it was what we called Mike Perry had just started to bleed, but that elbow out of the clinch. I feel like Ellenberger was landing more precise shots, but they weren't hitting with the power that you could see. Even though Ellenberger wasn't taking physical damage, he wasn't starting to bleed like Perry was. You could see Ellenberger be like, oh shit, this kid can hit. And that elbow out of that clinch was beautiful. He circled him out with his left hand and threw the right elbow. And actually, really scary thing, and I hope Jake really thinks about it because he's been in a couple scary finishes before. But he was out for longer than you like to see. He was out for a while. They even were announcing Mike Perry, which usually it takes a little while for Buffer to get in there. They were announcing TKO, and he still wasn't awake. And finally, after he started celebrating, he woke up. Yeah, with 45 seconds, maybe a minute. Ooh, yeah, that's a lifetime.
I think he doesn't fight again in the
I
UFC. I hope it's not
brutal.
in any organization. I don't think he should fight anymore.
He's had a long career.
I don't think he should fight anymore, and I think he can be a great coach.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he can be a great coach.
He's made a good name for himself.
Yeah, I don't think he needs to. That was dangerous. It was a dangerous opponent. It's exactly what we both anticipated happening.
Yep.
The worst Jake Ellenberger versus the best Mike Perry. So dangerous.
I don't know if it was the worst. I really liked Jake Ellenberger's movement, and I felt like he was getting the better of the striking.
I think that was Mike Perry just timing him out. I think he was just figuring it all out. I think these guys that are taking it to the next level of this sport they're realizing the chess match. They're not going in for the first round. I mean,
Right.
It's because they're bringing together. This is the other thing, and Brennan Schaub said this to Brian Callen, and I thought it was such a good point. And he goes, I think we should stop talking about fighters having their hands low, because in boxing you have your hands high.
Right.
But in MMA you have to have your hands low because you're still always protecting half a takedown. You can't have your hands up by your head the whole time.
Interesting.
And he said because we're mixing all of these things together, all these different sports together, you have to have your hands somewhere in the middle because you have to have a different center of balance the whole time. You don't know if someone's going to leg kick you. You don't know. And I was like, it really changed my whole, he's like, if it's a stand-up and you're just walking in with dead gorilla arms, there's a difference.
Sure.
And he's like, but even, he said, as long as, you see wrists above waist, the guy's still fucking.
He's active. He's ready. He's ready to move.
He just has a different game plan. And another thing that I was thinking of myself, but we've talked about it, is with a leg kick that you said in the first round for Sam Alvey. we see like, oh damn, he just fucking ate one on the jaw, but we don't know that this guy doesn't have power anymore. Like we don't know that, you know.
Agreed.
So it's like, not that it doesn't hurt, but it's like you can eat a certain amount of punches more.
It's the fun thing of our sport. Everybody has an off switch, and some people's gets pressed. And Ellenberger's definitely had an elbow press it.
Oh my
this
god!
Time around.
That was a JJ elbow.
But with the force of Mike Perry, because we know that he's a big puncher, if he starts using his elbows, which is on the equivalent of the knee, like the foot compared to the knee,
I could be
it's the
wrong,
elbow.
and I am such a
so
new
heavy.
young watcher of the sport, but I feel like full credit has to go to JJ with how she used her elbow. You know how you say
John Jones,
you're
I
training
feel like
for
is
the
one of
champion,
first
you're
guys.
training for the champion. Yeah, and maybe like John Jones being
Yeah,
the best.
yeah.
And not that he doesn't elbow out of the clinch and he has this amazing like style of inside.
Grabs the hands and fucking elbows over.
But I think that the speed and how JJ, you know how Dominic or TJ, the way they do your takedown as a punch? I think the way she's moved the speed into coming in where it looks like it's going to be like a right. So they brace for it, and then she comes in with that short elbow.
Yep.
That's where men taking that technique because of the amount of power they have. I don't know what is a more dangerous weapon on the human body.
That's where Muay Thai comes in. The Muay Thai really, where you would see even in the old blood sport, when it would be Van Damme with the lemons. But people really do that. Like lemons and balls and...
Slice.
Yep. And
slice.
it cuts you open.
Yeah.
Kenny Florian used to be a wizard. So was Joe Lozon, who was actually in a decision loss against Stevie Ray. I felt like Stevie Ray... Well, Lozon gassed. Did you see that fight? Lozon was dead after the first round.
I didn't see the whole thing.
But Lozon...
I got to see like the
first round, Stevie Ray ate some shots. Stevie Ray was within inches of getting the fight stopped, took the shots, and in the second and third came back and won a decision. And he did. Lozon gassed. Lozon was done after the first, I'd say, like 3-4 minutes.
I didn't get to see the first round, so I was just assuming that he got chewed up, because what I did see, he was chewed up. That's right, when I was like...
Yeah. Stevie Ray definitely came through. It really showed the toughness of Stevie Ray. So something to keep looking forward, where a lot of people don't lose that first round and come back.
I don't know.
He's had a long career. He's had a long career.
Against monsters.
And there's nothing but monsters left. Not in his profile. He's not going to step back too far in his
and nor does he want to.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So it's like, shit, where does he go from here?
They have another redemption show eventually.
Where does Stevie Ray go from here?
I think that definitely, if there's gatekeeper status, Joe Lozon's in that status, and it's nothing but top 10 guys for Stevie Ray. I can't say exactly the ranking. Maybe Joe Lozon's in the top 15, but I think it starts to rank Stevie Ray all of a sudden. He's in it.
It's interesting.
Definitely moving on to the 135 division. This turned out to be a 3-round decision for John Dodson. I feel like Dodson was a heavy favorite. It came out like everyone thought the speed advantage. Eddie Wineland, even in his corner via round 1, said,
he's so fast.
This guy's so... Exactly.
He's so fast.
We all know exactly what was going to happen, and it did. Eddie Wineland's chin, as questionable as people have thought, it isn't, because he ate some bombs and stayed in that fight. And where do they both go from here? Eddie Wineland's still in it. Dodson's still in it.
It was a boring fight the whole fight.
It was a decision. It was probably one of the more boring fights of the night.
This is the one that got booed, though, which I didn't think it deserved to.
Yeah, I agree with that. They're trying to beat each other, and I feel like even at the end of the fight...
But this is another good point that I heard on the Big Brown Breakdown as well, or maybe on the internet somewhere. He was... like, what about if you paid $200 for your ticket and that was the fight? And I was like, true.
Yes.
I just got my feed to work on Cody and I'm upset.
I definitely think that people were rowdy. It was a rowdy crowd, and they were getting treated to finishes. Even though Ortiz lost, that was a hell of a finish, but he was the local guy. But there was other fights that the decision for Lozon also made that's a decision right before that. The Perry TKO, like, that got their blood boiling. They were ready to see it.
They were ah.
Yeah, and then they got 2 decisions in a row. Dotson was boring fight. It was a boring fight.
Boring fight. And
but
I know they're
both 2
top
quality
fight.
guys.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're both trying.
Sometimes they both so good they make each other look bad.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. They neutralize each other. OSP defeating De Lima via submission round 2, the second and the only person to ever have 2 Von Flue chokes. OSP, his camp said they called it the Von Prue choke, I think he called it, because he's getting people from all sorts of weird angles. When in Wrestling 101, you do not leave that arm behind the neck because it turns your back to the ground, where he grabs around and pinches your neck.
I know, De Lima.
We all called it.
I didn't.
Well, no, wait. I called it round 2 finish for OSP, but
I'm
TKO.
just not an OSP fan. I think this was
I'm betting against him every other fight. But it was De Lima not coming in on weight. Still, if you saw the weigh-in, he was still 4 or 5 pounds over, but he played up that he was hurt and hurting, and it's not the first time he hasn't made weight here. He needs to move up to heavyweight, but he looks like he has the weight to lose.
I was thinking too, though.
He has the weight to lose.
He can't go up to heavyweight. He can't. He's not good at 205. What's he going to do against monsters?
He needs to go to Glory Kickboxing because I feel like he's a striking-oriented guy.
I think bye-bye to Lima.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
They have enough fighters out of Brazil. It's not like they're we're gonna lose a big part of our audience.
Yeah, I agree.
They got enough going on.
Chris
Cyborg alone, Aldo alone, Silva alone. They have beasts that are from that country. They don't need to just keep this guy on that 205.
Yep. Moving on to the next fight, we have Ali Quinta defeating Diego Sanchez via KO round 1 in 1 minute and 30 seconds. Straight rights, straight crisp striking by Quinta.
How great decision.
Is he? He's one of the few guys that's beat Jorge Masvidal. That was a split decision, and that's when his infamous "you're gonna fucking boo me" after they were in a battle and they both hurt each other. I thought Masvidal won that fight. I had Masvidal in that fight, and Quinta Alpha 2-year break has looked really good. I really have loved what he said on post-show on Ariel on the MMA Hour on Monday. He was talking about how it's all good this fight around. His camp went in good this time around, but he's making more money in real estate, and he might have another monster to fight next, and he might not come out, and he's making 26 and 26, and that's good, but that's not great. And
people think about it like, oh, it's good if you're just sitting on your couch making, what?
Yeah.
$52,000. That's great. But what you have to give as a fighter, that hardly pays for the food.
Exactly. And that's what he says as well. The car payment, the electricity, the training partners. UFC pays for the flights and stuff, but
and you cannot have your sponsorship anymore. I've seen so many arguments online, and it's really pissing me off, and I would like to hear your stance on it. I just feel like the Reebok deal, when they're like, that's good money. That's good money for someone. He should stop bitching about that. Or how, I think it was Artem Lobov from Reebok made $2,500.
That's nothing.
Are you kidding me?
Nothing. You could make $100,000 with Lobov's name.
I'm not on TV, and if I walked away, if I was on a cruise boat and won that, I'd be excited, but it wouldn't be like, if I won that from Reebok, I might not even tell people about it. Like, oh, 20, are you kidding me? That guy
it's
just
unreal. I
in
know.
a main event
with the name that they just made for him. Like
Reebok
I'm saying,
is bullshit.
It's bad.
You're telling me that guy couldn't sell one patch on his shorts for $2,500.
I always loved the type of like NASCAR look. I always loved that because that's what it was. It was like you'd see all the time. Oh, this guy's sponsored by this. It was a big thing when John Jones was just sponsored by Gatorade and or Nike, and that's all he wore on the shorts. It's good at radio. It's good fucking info. It's good shit. It makes them all better. It makes more people want to fight because Quinta make 26 and 26. But if he makes $200,000 on the sponsorship, he's happy because he's like, okay, I'll fight for pennies, but this is where I make the money in the back.
How much cooler all of a sudden is it if John Jones has black fucking shorts with the Nike swoosh across the butt? How much cooler is it if, when... Whatever, I think if a fighter buys their own thing and just puts platinum across this shorts, across this butt. I liked when the guys would come in like, I'm not wearing patches tonight. I needed to remember a reason why I was fighting. Because they were getting too much money too fast. Because of the amount of money they were making off sponsorships. Even shitty guys were making $200,000. It was worth it to go in there and put it all on the line because a lot of those companies said, hey, then they had money if you go in and tap someone out and put on the tap out shirt. That's $25 extra. If you go in and say, hey, Twitch, what up, Twitch, what up?
Exactly. Well, that's where I love DJ talking about... Well, Ali Aquinta in his interview was also like, hey, I might not be fighting anymore, but guess what? Now that I'm on the MMA Hour, he's understanding that him using the media as a platform for him to become... Because he has his real estate license... nationally.
Yeah, it's just marketing.
Yeah, so it's
you're
marketing.
On there,
exactly.
You put in a few good fights, and now you're like, let me fight for you to get you the best house.
Yeah, exactly.
Boom! Boom!
He sounded like, I bet he's getting calls that he would have never thought of. Because people like us listen to the show, and if...
I'm like, I'm in his neck of the woods. I trust him.
Exactly. Like I thought
it was bullshit how they booed him.
So I would have never booed him. And then you're a super fan. You get a fucking autograph on top of all that shit. And you know the money's going to a guy. The commission's going to someone. You're like, oh, that's a good guy. You know that guy.
Well, it's the same reason that you're like, let's say Diego Sanchez opens up a fucking car lot. You're like, oh, I'm going to go to Diego Sanchez, and he's there. Hey, what he does the commercials. Like, come to Diego Sanchez's car lot. You're like...
I think he needs a fucking blender or something, though. Diego Sanchez.
I'm not saying him. I just looked at
I'm just thinking...
More like De Lima.
If you were to think what would be Diego Sanchez's best marketing...
job, I wouldn't have thought Iaquinta, honestly, could sell houses.
No. He's a WWE guy. Or F guy. No, yes, E. He's, soon after, he's...
Even talking about him has made me say fuck like 6 times. Because I feel like, you fucking boo me?
Yeah.
You fucking boo me?
He's from up north, and he definitely...
He's a New Yorker, right? He got booed in New York.
I think, is it Jersey?
Maybe Jersey.
I think
maybe
something
that's
like
why.
that.
That's normal.
That's what I think.
Jersey gets booed in New York.
And he has also been in the WWE world, was what I was going to say. Promotionally, he also is getting the background of like, oh, as a wrestler, it's a gimmick. And now he just is a gimmick as a fighter. He's just in a different organization, but the kind of gimmick works. So I really like he's unique because he was also talking a lot of shit on UFC, which no other fighter is. And soon thereafter, Mike Perry was on the same...
Because he's not worried about the paycheck anymore.
Because he's making money, real estate.
And so exactly. I think it's smart. And I think Brennan Schaub, guys that are thinking outside the box of getting their brains bashed in for nothing. The Reebok deal's just bullshit. It really, it's out of everything in UFC. And we have how many years left?
I think 2 years still.
Criminy. It's like, are they going to lose every good fighter? Or like they're...
Well, what it does give other organizations so much time to be like, oh yay, they're picking fighters that would have never come to their organization, but they can start offering, like, there's avenues that they created with this sponsorship because people like the Bellators are able to give the...
And I heard Benson Henderson's not making as much money since he went to Bellator, and I'm like, Benson Henderson was one of those guys that he was just there at the beginning of the Reebok deal, and he had been in the UFC such a long time. He was grandfathered into a sweet contract plus all his sponsorship, and that's money that's not included in for the money he was making.
We know with the new management there, Scott Coker is always on the radio scene, and I'm always listening to him, and I always like his point of view. Most fighters, I can't think of any fighter that I've heard somebody ask about Scott Coker and them say a bad thing and he goes on to Ariel and will be like, no, I have these guys call me and we get it done. If we can't get it done, we can't get it done. But he's always very respectful and there's never been bad things of him, and I think that he's really bringing up his organization because of the Reebok deal. It was all...
They're trying to make it like American Gladiators or some shit.
Yeah,
it makes me
so
irritated.
Weird. Moving on to the main event. Cub Swanson, Artem Lobov via 5-round decision. I feel like, even though I know I picked Artem Lobov, I wasn't disappointed in my pick because a lot of people were saying that Artem was going to get blown out, and we were right. That he he wasn't going to win that fight. The first round, I think, could have went to Lobov.
I think first round went to Lobov, but easily the next 4 went to Cub.
Yeah. And
I picked Artem as well. I just thought he was going to catch Cub, and I think he almost did.
A couple times, yeah.
But yeah,
Cub caught him though a couple times
Cub
too.
Looked good.
Damn.
Cub, this is his last chance for a run.
Yeah.
He's another guy that needs a big fight next. I think this is a card that was set up nicely for big fights next.
Who do you think he has next? Who do you think is his next best challenge for Cub Swanson?
145. Gosh, everybody has a fight above him right now.
There's
everybody
people taken.
Everybody is taken.
And Cub with a win, you can only give him another winner.
Maybe Jeremy Stevens again?
No, I wouldn't want to see that again.
Something higher.
Yeah. But what exactly everybody's taken already higher than him because he's already so high. So that's what was rough about this Lobov fight because it never benefited Cub Swanson. Like, he's not going to really move up in the rankings for fighting Artem Lobov. It was all for Lobov, make it or break moment, and he didn't step up to the challenge. And I feel like I really liked the shit talk before and how they resolved it afterwards and were like, hey, you still gave me a fight. Like, there's a lot of people that would have gotten finished in that fight. I do think that DK-wise, Lobov was a good, solid play because he was so cheap that he did better than some winners. I feel like there was
He was on a lot of my cards that finished okay.
Holtzman, I feel like got really bad score for me, and
Holtzman was not worth it. I didn't play him at all, though.
I think I played him a couple times, and he hurt me on a few because I thought he was gonna get a finish, and he could have finished that fight multiple times. McBride was hanging on by a thread. Taylor was iffy. Yeah. I thought they were in the book like 60s apiece as well.
She got like 77.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't have her on anything. I thought Penny was going to win that. So bad about that fight.
I didn't play Artem or Cub on a bunch of cards, but I did have Iaquinta on a bunch. Sam Alvey. He hurt a lot. He hurt me
because I thought he was going to finish as well, so I had him on quite a few cards. Sam Alvey probably hurt me the most in the night. I would agree with that.
I think so too.
I would totally agree with that.
Yeah. So what else is happening out there?
So there's been quite a few fights also set up and booked in the recent past. Biggest one that I can think of that I've heard of that supposedly is officially set for July 29th is DC versus John Jones. Did you hear that?
July 29th?
July 29th.
Is that fight week in
Vegas?
I
think it's fight week.
Oh.
I feel like MMA Hour just said that. I haven't seen too much in the universe about it, and I would think it'd be a big set fight. I think he's close. Do you
think DC's the kind of guy that's going to go out on a win even if he loses, so he'll fight one more time just to get a throw and walk out?
I think if he loses again, he'll only fight one more time, and it'd be to try to win one last time, and if he doesn't, then he'll step away completely. But I think he's in this, 2 to 3 fights, maybe one more. And between 1 and 3 fights left.
Between them, they can sell it media.
There's a natural rivalry
to watch when they're on stage.
And it's the current champ getting the challenger coming for the belt because DC is the current champ, so it's just the perfect.
It's set up for more money.
Exactly. So let's cross our fingers and toes and everything we can to.
AKA injury bug.
Yeah, exactly. Stay away.
Or dick pills.
Woo. Well, sometimes you just gotta,
You gotta dick pill it
up. Sometimes you like to party too much, and cocaine is a hell of a drug. Lesbo, cocaine is a hell of a drug.
One of those balloons that used to be at, Walgreens or Eckerd's front counters that were slip, and you'd make your hands hand over fist.
And it falls on the ground.
And you're like, whoa, ow, I don't want that one. So you put that one back and you get the clean one.
You always poke it?
I don't know what happened to him. I feel like eventually my mom threw it away. Maybe we had a dog in the house that she's like, this is going to end up bad.
Horrible. You grab that thing and stick it over your finger.
But I just feel like he could have just sat there. Yeah, that's right. He could have just sat there with his limp old shit. He didn't need a dick pill.
Right.
He just sat there with his slip.
So, we will
soft
definitely...
ass, whoa, on the Eckerd floor. You're like, ew. All hair on it, and sand.
Exactly. Yeah, it's always
you have to pick it up.
You pick up that somebody dropped the previous one.
That was the first pocket pussy.
That's what I'm trying to allude to.
It's not a reinvention of anything. That's
Your
what
mom's
it's sold
like,
for.
"Ooh,
Your mom's
get
like,
that
put that
right
right down.
Throw it away. Throw it away.
Get
I
that
don't
out
want
of the
that
house.
shit. Yes, exactly.
Yo,
Exactly.
nasty ass.
You're like, there's fish in it with glitter and shit.
I have no idea. Like, look, Mom. She's
Well,
like,
that's
I
what
don't
I'm
even want to
saying.
watch you do it.
Immediately.
Some sick perverted, like Mr. Burns type characters, like, I'm gonna make kids play with this. Slip, 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 slip. It's not for kids at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
It's like somebody just buys that and KY jelly, like a half a tub of KY jelly and that. 4 of those.
Didn't they have them right next to him, right on the shelf?
I have
No,
no
I'm
idea.
joking.
I know.
I'm joking. So, other couple fights that were announced, not as big of a deal. Ishihara versus Gray Maynard. Gray Maynard's pretty much on his way out. I feel like this is one of his retirement fights if he loses. I think he's probably out. Ishihara came off the Lobov loss, so we'll see if this is a fun fight. I think a finish can come around for Ishihara. Maynard doesn't have too much other than wrestling, and that's a strong fruit for Ishihara. Miguel Torres recently retired on the down low. He was out of the UFC before you got into the sport. He was a WEC legend, was a champion who turned out to be chinny because they filmed some of his training camps, and these guys were going 100% in practice before a fight and getting hurt and hurting each other with big punches. And have since, in those recent years, people have gone away from that. And Miguel Torres is a perfect showing of why you don't spar heavily before fights and that you can cause permanent damage. Because now he has a trigger fuse where people are catching him with jabs and he's stiffening like Jake Ellenberger does.
I'm starting to think there needs to be research done, not just about comas, knockouts, dehydration. When our body takes severe injury, I think it injures something so that we're triggered to anytime we come close to that wall again, our body shuts right off because it's the safest thing for us. Because they're like, oh, we can't ever go there again. Mm-hmm. We can't ever go to that place. That was so dangerous for our organs of some sort. So it just turns us off. I just think it's, what a wackadoo. Our organic computer, like we have to reboot.
It's definitely, people should just pay attention to it, and people should just look at him, and if there's still people that do train in garages on the way up, and if you have people in your garage that train like that, it's not the best idea in the world. Schwab talks about it all the time because they used to really practice heavy and throw heavy punches in practice, and it's like, I've learned the hard way as well that it doesn't benefit you to take those type of shots in practice. You can drill situations and all you do is take 2 inches forward in a real fight and that power lands. You don't have to land it on people in practice, as well as you don't have to take that damage as well, because you're usually fighting guys above and below your weight at practice because it's who's around.
And it just doesn't do you any good to injure your training partners if you don't have them for a lot longer.
Exactly. And there's definitely, be smart out there, guys. Be smart out there. Other interesting news that I wanted you to weigh in on here was Sage Northcutt's sister, Colby Northcutt, is debuting in her pro MMA debut in LFA. I don't know if she has any amateur bouts. I don't necessarily think she does, but she's been a lifelong martial artist like her brother, and she's won all of the awards and all the accolades that he has, and people have said she was like a girl prodigy. So she's going to be like that karate style of fighter. I'm excited to see it just because of Northcutt.
I think she has actually a better opportunity at making waves.
Yeah, I agree because of
she's
the
in
division.
A younger sport. Well,
there's not as much competition like her.
She can crawl up the ranks quicker.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think there's just people are waiting for up and coming young women fighters because Dana White just did it with this Cavillo girl. I feel like it's a niche market that people are really starting to understand.
I feel like Cavillo kind of did it herself with her. They have to meet them halfway.
I agree, but Northcutt's sister already has so much extra in her because of her family being in it. Exactly.
It won't be long.
It won't, exactly.
It'll be a very
blow out.
quick climb. But something to bring up about women's MMA that I've just noticed on Twitter and Reddit and stuff. Chris Cyborg, like hashtag class act.
Oh, I love her.
She talks about other female fighters. She's like, it's sad that there's some fighters in the UFC that have blank amount of followers, but Iron Lady Germaine and Megan Anderson only have this many. You guys should follow them now.
Just totally. Just spreading the love. There's enough to go around.
And I just feel like if you want your division to shine bright, you need a bunch of stars.
Contenders.
In it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like it just makes so much sense. Like
it needs to be a competition.
It just makes it ultimate. And this way, look at what Cyborg does by building both of them up. She has 2 fights that are interesting to people by building them up. It's so brilliant. Yep. It's like the idea of this, like, I think the glass ceiling also exists in fighting. Stop trying to friggin' be a bunch of Conor McGregors. Everybody find your own style and just stay true to yourself.
Mike doing it. I love it. We've talked about it before, how he's healing out. He's his own thing.
Something new.
Yes, exactly.
Something
not the
new.
same.
He's going to get him, gonna grab bigger rungs, bigger leads. He's going to get bigger fights because he's interesting and he's building a fan base. People love to hate him or hate to love him.
I totally agree, and that just means more money in his pocket, and people should be paying attention to that. We're going to have a break in between these last weekend of fights. We have 2 weekends in a row where we got nothing to do.
Before UFC 11.
Which is, I feel like we could just go over the main card real quick because it's gonna be amazing. We're gonna have 2 weeks to really break it down.
Look at the preliminary, the fights on the preliminary card. Our main events on their own. Are you kidding me? Eddie Alvarez, Dustin Poirier,
Vic Polarayas. Polarayas, I feel like had fight of the year not long ago, and Juco Branch is debuting or not. I think it's his second fight.
No, I just mean that I like Jason Knight versus Chaz Skelly. That's an awesome fight. And Eddie Alvarez, Dustin Poirier. Then we can now just saying them aloud because we're going to talk about him 10 times before they get here.
So the main event is going to be Poirier Alves, or the main event prelims. The prelim showcase fight.
Main of the prelim.
Right, or the showcase fight for the prelims, I feel like the people are calling it. So that's Eddie Alvarez, Dustin Poirier. That's a hell of a fight. Alvarez is coming off of a loss to Conor. It's been a little while since that TKO finish. He got hurt 3 or 4 times. Poirier has a lot of power, but Poirier gets clipped too.
I feel like, this is crazy.
It's a hard fight.
I feel like Dustin wins this fight. I'm just saying now. I don't know what'll happen in between time.
We got time.
I just, I have watched a lot of older fights of Alvarez, and he looked good when his opponents were in trouble before the fight started, like bad weight cuts or injury or
I feel like I'm kind of starting to lean that way. We just talking about it. I feel like the reason I'm going to lean Poirier is because we know that Conor got in Alvarez's head, and he even talked about it. Game plan went out the window. Dustin Poirier has been in many shakeups before a fight. Like, there's highlight footage of just how many times he's had to get pulled away after weigh-ins. Dustin Poirier gets in guys' heads via the DS, kind of the fuck you, rile you up way. And we know Alvarez can get riled up now. We know that. It happened already once, so I think that benefits Poirier. I'm leaning Poirier as well. Potential finish. We'll see Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez has a big... He's got to come out. He's got one more. He was a champ. He's really. I don't know how much longer I'm going to want to see Eddie Alvarez.
If he loses to Dustin.
Yeah,
he's.
But it's only he'll be on a 2-fight losing streak, or he could be on a 1. There's many fights. There's so many fighters in that division. I can't wait to just see that fight happen.
Okay, next fight.
Main event. Starting off the main event of the pay-per-view, we have Henry.
And this is no research at all. I just want to throw up who I think now, and that'll change when we actually do our real breakdown of it. But right now, who I think is going to win. Go on.
Versus Sergio Pettis. So this is at 125 pounds. I mean, we know Cejudo, the wrestler, Olympian wrestler, and Sergio Pettis, Baby Pettis, people call him, has been his given nickname. I think it's something else. But Pettis has looked good. Cejudo is just the wrestling. His only loss is Demetrius Johnson. That's it. So I feel like it's a Cejudo decision for me.
One of the things that we're noticing is the amount of growth in Platinum Perry. We were just talking about that in the last thing, and he just seems somewhere to me like, wow, what a great student this kid is. Like, he is absorbing everything like a sponge right now. And Henry Cejudo is another guy I think that of. And I have Cejudo on this fight. Yeah. I think Henry is he'll be the champ one day. Like, it's not going to be because he beats Demetrius, but one day he'll be the champ. To me, he could be the champion of the division without Demetrius there.
With the personalities
really Henry Cejudo.
And the people that are shining, to go back on the previous fight, the post-fight talk real quick, Moreno in his fight, I love that he goes for it with his English. He knows it's not the best, but he goes with it with a happy attitude and is just like, I messed up my English. Oh well, guys. It's endearing. But he also said, I promise you guys, not today, not tomorrow, maybe not in a year, but I will be champion one day. Him announcing stuff like that really makes me get on his bandwagon more.
And it's an investment. Like, you want to stay around? I want to watch you stay around.
I'm going to support you.
Yeah.
I'm going to support you.
So. A fighter's heart, it's something inspiring. It's the same reason people watch Gladiators.
Yeah, I would totally agree. It's fun. Fun storylines.
And to me, it's going to get bigger for the same reason, because the more impoverished people get, the more people want to get out of that element in sports like fighting. And so I think it's like, you know, when things get bad, boxing has higher numbers and maybe Campbell's soup sales go up. So I would say invest in canned foods and maybe some UFC stock.
That's not a bad call. Not a bad call.
If we are Rome.
Yeah. Moving on, we have unbelievable. This is a main event in itself. We have Frankie Edgar versus Yair Rodriguez. This is a real test for Yair. Not no BJ Penn. Frankie Edgar. I got Frankie Edgar decision right now.
Wow.
Frankie Edgar's only losing to the champ, who is Aldo, or Connor if he was in the division. That's the only people Frankie's losing to.
Frankie
decision. Heavy wrestler, great boxing.
I like
Yair. For days.
I like Yair. I don't know. It's just every time Frankie gets in at this age is the question of, is his arrow going in the opposite direction now? Is he the rock now in the stream for the river to pass, and that river is Yair? I like Rodriguez.
Flashy for days, and I should be picking. Well, he's on the Moreno status of he throws so much different things at you, and he doesn't care about going to the ground. But that anti to jiu-jitsu on the ground is wrestling. Frankie has the level of wrestling and the level of striking to be very technical, where Yair's flashiness could benefit him with a kick getting through, because those kicks have so much power that he throws when he spins his hips into those heels. And I just think that it's going to be a grind of a fight, and it's going to be 3 rounds.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I actually think Frankie can finish it. I think it's by far, when I was just looking at all Yair's other fights, it is too big of a gap up.
Yeah, it jump in competition. Way too big. I agree. That's what I'm basing it on. Like, Frankie's only losing to the top guys.
I think if you want to watch a guy deplete your engine, it's going to be Frankie Edgar.
Yes, he has an ultra grinder's mentality.
And he's too smart to be caught by that cuckoo shit.
He's very technical. Exactly. That's exactly where
I think.
Where I
see Yair going up for something kooky kick, and Frankie getting a wrestling 101 takedown and grinding him out on the ground with ugly elbows, weird twist, weird turn. By the 3rd round, I think he's going to be beat. I think he's going to be breathing with his mouth open, and Frankie could knock him out right now. It could totally change.
Liking that. Then we have another main event in itself. This is the fight I'm most excited for. Jorge Gabriel,
our
boy, Masvidal versus
I fucking love
Damian
Maia too, man.
Yeah, I know.
These are 2 of my favorite fighters in the whole UFC.
So, we've talked about this many a times before. It's the jiu-jitsu, takedown, grinding style, non-striking, get you to the ground and strangle you, against a all-around, well-rounded fighter. If not, but I'd say well-rounded, but he's really great in every avenue, where most guys will say, oh, he's okay there, or he's good in that spot, he's good in that spot.
He's not average. He could get a belt in all the different competitions.
He's an A+ in all of the divisions, so all the way around, he's very well-rounded, but he's great in all those avenues, and his wrestling is, I think, going to be the biggest role in this fight. I have Masvidal using wrestling in reverse to keep the fight striking, and then he can win the striking. I got TKO round 2 or 3 for Masvidal
right now. I feel like we see a repeat of Whitaker Souza, and I got George Masvidal TKO as well.
Gonna be but this is a coin flip of a
this
fight.
Could be right or die, but I just think George is smart enough, and I think you watch an exact. You just saw a blueprint of what you do.
Damian
keep him away from you, keep it striking, everything you said.
Yeah, exactly.
George Masvidal is a smart fighter. He knows this is his last time at the run.
He's been going with Kobe Covington to OSU wrestling camps where they've had a really good showing in the Pac-10 wrestling and nationals. They've been doing well, but Masvidal has been using his wrestling and been getting better at wrestling since the inception of his career when he was at Strikeforce. He always talked about it.
I feel like this is going to be a huge underdog right now.
I feel like it's a split fight. I feel like it's 115 minus 105, minus 115 minus 105, one of those bullshit lines. It's not going to be one or the other. It's too close of a fight.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, 135, 115.
For who? Who's the 135?
Right now, Masvidal's the favorite.
Oh, interesting.
But he's down a little from this morning.
Interesting. That's a fun fight all the way around. I can't wait to see.
I just thought that every UFC fans, I just thought they are gonna be my dick riders. I just assumed it. So I'm really excited. Hashtag Team Gamebred. You know how we roll here.
He's been doing really good interviews on the Latin channels. There was like some TV something or other I saw him on where he was wearing like some definitely Latino attire with like a gold chain and like like a nice suit, but it was definitely looked like he could have had a trumpet in the band and doing it. But I can't wait for that. Then we move on to the co-main event.
What do you do after that? Do you need anything else after that?
I know. I'm done with my pay-per-view.
I'm done. Yep. I just turned off my TV.
Exactly. There doesn't need to be another fight, but there is another main event in itself. This is a title.
Don't do it. Don't even tell
contender. Me. We have Jessica Andrade.
This is a pay-per-view on its own too.
Yeah, on its own. This is main event.
Both these. So everything you're telling me. I like everything you're telling me.
Exactly. Versus JJ, the champion, one of the most dominating women, if not the most dominant woman. 13 MMA wins in a row, not one loss.
She's the only one with potential to wreck all the records of Demetrius
on the
Johnson.
Way up. Yes, I agree. She's finishing women.
Right now that is holding a belt, to me, the only one with potential that's her record.
Andrade has a lot of power. Andrade gasses.
She has shoulders out to here.
Yeah. She definitely is a fire hydrant, but I feel like Gedalia's was a stronger version of Andrade, but I don't think Gedalia had as well-rounded of striking. Andrade really does have crisp striking, but
what do you not want to do with JJ?
Strike. It's strike. So, it's over.
What camp has JJ been at working on ground?
American Top Team.
So I don't.
Yeah, I agree. It's JJ all day.
It's a 5-round fight. It's a 5-round fight.
That DK-wise, I think, is going to play big for you as far as
It's going to be the worst 25 minutes of Andrade's life.
Yeah, I agree.
And she's going to ask herself a question for the last 15.
Why
do I have it? Like, should I give up now? Or should I do this for 12 more minutes? Should I give up now or should I do this for... Oh my gosh, 11 and a half more minutes. Like, I think it's going to be a painful ending. Because I don't know if JJ and her elbows. Oh my.
And that's what I keep seeing. Elbow City just from the top position, from the side position, from everywhere. I just see elbows coming Andrade's way. And I could see a finish accumulating in the later rounds.
Land hard strikes. Yeah. We saw Gedalia land hard strikes on JJ. I feel like JJ's been friggin' tested.
Yep.
So it's
I totally agree.
I think the same way as we were talking about an earlier fight, this is a huge jump up for Andrade in competition.
I think Andrade was on her way up. She could have had one more fight, but I don't think she's on because the division's so light. Like, there's just the new girls, they have to get a couple fights in before they can go for the championship, but the champs, it's Demetrius Johnson. She's kind of clearing out the division, and it kind of gets a little stagnant, but she's being so dominant and is just such a unique personality in herself. She's always been very outspoken. She's always been very outspoken, and it's been very endearing. Her
nickname could be Game Face. And I like...
I love Champion. I don't even care if she's
Violence better than Champion.
Yeah, Violence. That is a good one. That was a fan given she was awarded that name. What is the line on that for JJ versus Andrade?
It is really close. I think you put money on JJ right now. It is under 155.
Mine is for JJ all day. She should be a 3-1 favorite in my eyes.
I think so too. I agree with you.
Yeah, I don't see anywhere where Andrade wins this fight.
I don't see anywhere where Andrade is a value at all.
Yeah, I agree.
She should be very cheap. But these odds right now on this make me excited for DraftKings because it means you'll be able to get JJ in a 5-round fight for like
8,000. Yeah, exactly.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Great news. They'll wise up beforehand.
Then, to top it off, the entire night. So, all of those main events, if they didn't do it for you, we're finishing the entire night off. And this is after a 2-week stint of no fights. So, people are going to be fiending for their MMA, as I will be. And we got the big boys that you just mentioned. Stipe Music versus Junior Dos Santos. This is a rematch. We have seen this fight before, and Stipe won it. Decision? Or am I wrong with that? I feel like...
Is it a rematch and he's trying to
because
redeem
Stipe has
himself?
the belt at the heavyweight division. He's defended it a few times. And Junior Santos has beat a few guys, but the heavyweight division notoriously has been very lacking. This fight... Oh, I cannot. I can't remember. I know it's a rematch, but
to me, this is the least exciting.
I agree.
On the main. This is the least exciting fight on the main card.
I would agree with that as well. After every other fight we broke down, this fight is just like two guys that are similarly weighted because Junior Dos Santos doesn't weigh in max out at heavyweight. They're both around the 250, 240 mark. Stipe is a little bit leaner. He's definitely been the champ for quite a while. I don't know if he's still a firefighter or not, but I feel like that's starting to get to be more of a influence. It's starting to, now that he's a champ, he has media obligations that he never had before, that I really would like to know if he's become a full-time fighter, because working 3 days a week at the station, and he talked about the first time he got the belt, he went home to the belt. The next day, he did a shift at the firehouse. Because they expected him to be there. And he's like, yeah, I'll be here. It doesn't matter. And sure enough, I feel like soon enough, push is going to come to shove. He's going to have media obligations for this that are going to be very taxing and already have been.
So you got Junior in this fight? I think it's going to be Stipe by knockout.
I feel like it's going to be Stipe by decision. I feel like the wrestling is going to play a bigger role. But I feel like this is going to be a long fight. I feel like this goes to decision. And I think it is going to be Miocic.
I think it's Stipe by knockout, uppercut, boom! I think Stipe's going to... I think he's one of those... He's a great boxer.
Yeah, he has really, really good hands.
And I think he has great takedown defense. I think he's been in there in the ring with people that... Yeah, isn't he like some all-state wrestler too?
Yeah. He for Missouri or something like that. I could be off.
I mean, look at his last fights: knockout Overeem, knockout Verdum, knockout Arlovsky, knockout Mark Hunt. And then Junior Dos Santos decision.
He lost the decision,
but it was a 3-round.
It's so also a factor, and I do think that Miocic.
I think firefighter's a good job. There's not a lot of friggin' fires. He gets to work out all day, get paid, be a nice, strong guy on the force.
Yep.
Dunzo.
I'm sure his station, all of his buddies are like, don't go out on this call, dude. You're in the middle of a workout. Let me go take your spot. Like, there's people around. Exactly. I would. If my buddy was in the same firehouse or bunk. Yeah.
Imagine if he was your partner. You know he's going to drag your ass out of whatever building might be burning down. Big ass
it'd be two of you guys.
Yeah. You're like, will you get me too? I don't know.
So that's what we're gonna walk into after this 2 weeks of
that. This will be the 5-round fight that I'm like, oh, it's almost over.
It is gonna be like 1 o'clock in the morning.
But I think Stipe's gonna come in and light it up.
Hopefully it is. Hopefully it's not a 5-round decision, because it's gonna be a 6-round main event. So the pay-per-view is gonna be definitely more worth it. You get 6 instead of 5. I always like that.
And John Jones, Daniel Cormier. Hey, I wish this was the year I could get to Vegas. I wish something happened. This is another reason that I'm like, we got to get on YouTube.
Right.
We got to get on YouTube. I don't know why, but I feel the need. I've looked up tickets.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I got to get to fight week. I just have
That would
to.
be a lot of fun.
The weird part of it is because it's the weekend, you have to fly out on expensive days and fly in unless you stay for the full 4 days, where you're flying out on a Thursday and flying back on a Monday. That you can get like $300 tickets that way, round trip. What? I'm like, you can get some hotel deal. There's got to be some kind of gambling thing to sign up for.
Oh, yeah.
And I couldn't afford to go to probably the main card. But I would like to go to one card and then watch the other one from somewhere fun. I don't know. Maybe
I would
not
love
this
it.
year, but we'll see. Who knows? Dream big. Dream big.
It is dream big, and I would love to see a John Jones fight.
Me too.
And an Andrew Cormier.
And I'm not
it's
worried
a
about
rivalry.
seeing John Jones. I feel like we got time. But
Yeah.
Daniel Cormier, I don't think we have a lot of time.
I agree, and he deserves it. He's had the longest career.
I'll cheer for DC.
I agree. I'll cheer for him as well.
I'll cheer for everything in there. I'll be
Yep.
one of the crazy people that's at every weigh-in, every fan thing going on. I'll be like, up and at 'em.
Yep.
Up and at 'em.
Yep,
I won't.
yep.
I'll be the one of the weirdos that's. I'm not in wasted to get wasted.
If
I'm
I
not in
knew-
Vegas to get wasted. I'm in here to be a fight geek.
If I
Like-
knew Dane Cormier is, or maybe I'd figure it out.
We've
and I
set
knew
up
I
the
was gonna see him.
podcast in the hotel room.
Oh, I would just say I would go give him his favorite treat, like his cakes. You know how he's. Yep.
Yes.
I'd show up with a freaking box and just be like, "Thank you very much, sir, for all your time. Here's a cupcake."
I'd be like, Daniel Cormier, we flew all the way to Portland, Oregon to get you some voodoo donuts. Daniel Cormier. But who knows? Who else? I've heard so many good rumors about that card. We got Garbrandt Dillashaw that weekend.
Oh, that's gonna be so much
Are you
fun.
fucking kidding me?
The show, good topic to move into. The show is going to be on later this week. I think tonight, actually. If you get a chance, you should definitely watch it because it's the Redemption series. I feel like Garbrandt.
I haven't been into the house for a while, but I will be tuning in for this.
Me too. I haven't been into the show for a couple seasons. I'll watch them in the back because there's so many like of other countries that I try to keep up with as well. But did you hear the latest banter between TJ and Cody? It was a check for TJ. So Garbrandt said, "Oh, how about we donate the money of the video of me knocking you out?" And TJ said, "Yeah, how about we donate to a charity for kids without dads so they don't grow up to be like you." Boom! That's a fucking burn. That's a burn for TJ.
Do you think, what do you think for that fight right now?
Cody.
You think he's going to knock out Dillashaw or you think it's a decision?
Decision.
You think he's going to get in his head the same way as
Yep.
he did?
Yep. And if there's any truth to that, know that you've already been knocked out by somebody. It changes your game plan because once you feel that power again, it takes you back to that day in the gym that it happened once or twice or however many times it's happened. But
do you think it's a mental screw at all to watch the Dominic Cruz fight and be like, jeez?
I think that you watch the Cruz fight because if he tries to do some of that showmanshipy things, TJ's a fucking snake. And that's in the best terms that I could put it. He fucking will pounce on you.
Yes, snake in the grass.
So if you're doing some of that flashy stuff like, oh, you can't touch me, he will spring forward with a punch or kick that might catch you because your hands are down and you're too busy. Where Dominic Cruz has never been a power puncher, TJ is not the biggest power puncher, but he's precise. So if anyone gets caught clear, they'll get put on your butt and he'll jump on a submission. Like, it's a really fun fight. Really fun season. There's a lot of different narratives going around. And
So that's another fight that's going to be that weekend.
Yeah.
But if
can't
it's
wait
not
for
this
that one.
year, not that it can't happen because I've seen things happen bigger for other channels once we get them up. But if it's not this year, next year for sure. I'm fucking going to Fight Week.
Yeah, I
I'm
agree.
planning it in my head, like a
that would be
long-term
great
plan
time.
for myself. I'm just going to be like, get the wifey,
Yep.
go out to Vegas for a couple of days. She can come with me. She said she's like, I'd go with you to all this stuff because I asked if I could. I'm like, if I won a trip, because I played something on DraftKings, I'm like, if I won a trip to the Fight Week, do you really want to go? Like, seriously? Like, if I won the tickets for 2,
Right.
it wouldn't mean as much to you at all to go. I should take the bean.
Oh, well,
She's
thank
like,
you.
I would totally go to a fight. And I'm like, I know, but I feel like you wouldn't.
Would you
I would talk
appreciate
to
it?
you. I would try to talk to you and be like, you don't even understand. Blah, 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 with
But this
backstory.
kid-
And she's like, just staring at me with stripper eyes.
So, What else do we have going on in the future? Anything other topics that we may have missed or anything that came off the top of your head in the recent past or future?
Ronda and Travis got engaged?
I did hear about that. Congratulations, you two. Good to see that it's not just a flingy thing and that you guys are seeing big enough reason to. I think Travis has 2 children. So Ronda might hold off on the whole having kids.
Yeah, maybe she doesn't want kids and she's like, this is ideal.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I can have kids and not have them out of my own womb, and I can love them the same without any of the injury on my 32-year-old body. Fantastic. I'm just saying, she might be thinking that way, or she could be like, let's get married quick so I can pop some buns out of this oven.
It could be because she's
Let's make
in
a
that
fighting
area.
super child. Are you kidding
Let's
me?
make a Sage Northcutt.
I think better than Sage. Look how tall Travis is.
Oh yeah, he's a monster.
With all of a sudden, Rhonda's waking you up in arm bars like her mom used to do to her.
Yeah.
Whether that's a boy or a girl, you got a danger zone. But I think you want a girl. If you got Travis height, long girl.
Amazon.
Friggin' especially by that time, 145 division will be nice and steep.
Oh yeah, there'll be some history there. There'll be years, 8, 9, 10 years of history.
If Ronda and Travis had a kid, it could be Megan Anderson. That's what I picture it to look like a tall, brown-headed woman.
Oh, so good news for them.
Yeah,
yeah.
Put the cart before the horse. Anyways, yeah, what else has gone on in the world of UFC? I don't really know.
Looking for Fighter is out. I haven't caught the latest episode.
I don't care about Dana White in a show, honestly. He's not likable.
The prospects. It's the prospect. They've given us prospects that are doing all right. They really have. Not Travis Brown. Something Brown. Mickey Gall. Northcutt as well.
Mickey Gall's from Looking for a Fight?
Yeah. He went for looking for a fight. He won his fight. And he got on the mic and said, Dana White,
Mickey Gall.
I see you in the crowd. I want to fight CM Punk. And Dana White said, oh, a 3-0 guy? Yeah, we'll have him fight because he had a brand new record and he was young. So they're like, not tested enough.
Mickey Gall. I saw him on the Church of What's Happening Now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's right.
It was a good episode. I like it.
Did he partake because you know that preacher is high as fuck?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, damn it.
I didn't notice.
I'm sure he's got some sort of fucking...
I like Joey Diaz. I'm into Fighter and the Kid. I watched the Big Brown Breakdown. I like a lot of the guests that I follow their podcast now that have been on. I'm getting over Joe, man.
I would say I'm in the same boat. I have really not been listening to many of his... There's so much other good radio or podcasts out there, audio, to listen to that... The same old hunting stories. And Joe says it himself all the time. Listen to someone else for a while, but I feel like I've heard a lot of what he has to say. And I know the perspective I'm going to get from him. And the people he's had on is just... Over and over and over again. And you almost see... I just feel like his opinion used to be steadfast. That was one of the reasons I liked him. No matter whether I agreed or disagreed, he... stood by whatever it was he felt. Now I just feel like he is 100% devil's advocate. That is it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he's talked about in the past. It doesn't matter what he said before. And he does have Jamie there to pull up shit, and he tells him, like, he will disagree with someone and won't be able to get off the fact that he's wrong. And so it'll be like, Jamie, just put in this exact phrase in Google. Like, if you put in any exact phrase in Google, you can find, in Google is starting, they're going to make it harder. They're going to filter the things you get now from your searches. So it'll be harder to find, in quotes, fake news. That's censorship. Yeah, that is censorship. It's definitely a different... There's also just tons of different levels of censorship that we don't understand that are going on. I know that they just redid a whole bunch of YouTube. Speaking like iTunes, for example, we're having such a shit. We don't know if it's because we have lesbo in our title, if it's because we used UFC in the description once when we're like, we talk about MMA and UFC. It's such bullshit. But there's so many other good apps out there and good ways to find good content now. And Joe's was somebody who I thought was on the skirts of
not being the mainstream, and now he's becoming a mainstream of his own, like where he doesn't want to take a strong stance because he's worried about losing any fans.
Yeah.
And I think that's shitty, because that's part of the reason why you have all these fans. Like, I think back to Howard Stern, and the viewers that listened the longest were the ones that hated him the most. And so don't worry about people's opinion of you, Joe. Sometimes I want to take your guest side, but sometimes I'm glad you're there speaking up for things because you're intelligent and well spoken. So it's just like, him not having an opinion is just disheartening. I thought he was one of the guys that...
Yeah, I agree. I remembered him more as that, but it is that repetitiveness. It's just, I know what he's going to say before he's going to say it, and that makes me lose interest where...
And the loudest people, I don't think the majority, how the majority feel, are the friggin' trolls that are texting him things on Twitter. Mm-hmm. Or the people that are taking the time to write things on Twitter all the time. I don't think that's the majority of people that listen to a show. I think they find you in other means, and they're like, hey, Joe Rogan, I remember that guy from News Radio. Because they're living the 1920s and they're a gangster.
And that's how they talk.
Yeah, that's how they talk, see? But I feel like they're like Katharine Hepburn. I just think that it's just disheartening, and watching the way he argues, it just reminds me of he's a bully.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Labeled like as a bully.
A bully. I know I hate that fucking word too. I hate
it's been bastardized.
Yeah, but I mean it. There's like an argument way to be a bully where it's definitely, I don't even want to say that word. I feel like he's a antagonizer.
Antagonist?
Yeah.
Is it the... Yeah, I could see him. He does do. Oh, I'm just playing devil's advocate, but again, tons and tons of stuff out there. If you're bored, Lesbo and the Bean has got a good podcast for you.
Follow us at Twitter at Lesbo and the Bean or lesboandthebean.com.
Lesbo and the Bean.